So this is Backwards Realm here with another me, and I have the honor of having. How do you want me to pronounce it? Do you want me to call you DRA, or would you like me to call you Desiree?
Whatever's most comfortable, whatever rolls off the tongue. It's funny because I remember at the Master Student Conference, Yosef got up there and said, draw. I'm like, God, why is DRA so complicated? And it's really not. I should put a Y end, which literally my entire family calls me D-Ray. Mm-hmm. Like if my brothers come over here, they're gonna say, "What's up, D-Ray?" Mm-hmm. So whatever rolls off the tongue, whatever's easy. Hey. Maybe even D. I have a lot of family that just call me D. Okay. So what's up?
Okay. Well, for those who don't know who you are, I'm gonna introduce you as Desiree, mm-hmm. D-Ray Wise.
Perfect.
So go ahead and tell the people who you are, the ones who have no idea and the ones who already know.
Well, what's up, family? Like she said, Desiree, D-Ray Wise, wife and life partner of Dreamwise, and I am a spiritual healing coach. I do spiritual work. Palo Santo.
Yes.
And I mostly work with spiritual women seeking to renew their spirits, reinvigorate their relationships, and really rediscover their purpose. That is what I help women do. I help them to heal their trauma. I help them to create new habits, create new patterns that are in alignment with their higher selves. I help women to just tap deeper into the fullness of who they divinely are. So that's what I do. I have a YouTube page, Divine Relationship Alchemy, where I talk all things healing, transformation, spiritual work. And so that's a little bit about me. Oh, and I'm a mother of 3. I think that's very important to talk about, right? I am a mother of 3, and that is still mind-blowing for me. But it is so exciting, and being a mother is one of my most cherished roles in this lifetime and in multiple lifetimes. Being a mother has been one of my most cherished roles. And that's what everything that I just said, when somebody asks you, who am I? Everything that I just said are just roles that we play, or roles that I am playing, a role that I am playing in this current lifetime. But of course, as you all know, and if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, we are actually infinite beings. Mm-hmm. To really define who we are, because we are cosmic. There aren't words that can really express who we actually are. But when we manifest in each carnation, we take on these roles. We say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have 3 kids, I'm going to talk about spirituality. We say what we're going to do in each role, and that gives us some level of definition to who we are cosmically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree. That was a good introduction. I wanted to ask you, one of the things I wanted to talk about was, what process did you undergo to realize that you yourself was an actual healer and not somebody else recognizing it for you?
Ooh, I love that question. That's a good one. I think, I know what I did. First of all, I've been into spirituality since I was a kid, not really knowing that it was spirituality, but I've been into spirituality. I've been into psychology. I've been into trying to understand the workings of the mind. I was the type of person in high school, if we're at a party and we're having a good time and I feel some type of shift in the energy, I was the type of person that was going to say something about it, call it to y'all's attention and be like, did y'all just hear what just happened? And then that happened. And this is all like synchronistic. And people thought I was crazy. My friends thought I was crazy. They were like, we don't want to talk about that right now. You are totally killing the vibe. You're killing the vibe. We don't want to talk about all that right now. So I've always been into spirituality in that sense. But as I got older, really over the last, I want to say probably 7 years, over the last 7 years, I have been really analyzing myself
Mm-hmm.
and finding these connections between how I perceive the world and how I was raised, and finding these understandings and like, okay, this part of my psychology, this part of my spirit, this part of my way of being, this part of my belief system is not in alignment with what I actually want to live and how I actually want to experience life. And so I have to do some changes. And then I started being like, okay, well, what makes me think, feel, and act this way? Oh, it was that trauma. Oh, it was that experience. And then I started doing the work. I started really doing the alchemy on it. And so after that is when I realized, oh, I'm really about this life. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be helping people to reflect on their past, not even just their past in this present moment, but I'm supposed to be helping people reflect on their past lifetimes as well, and help them to understand how those experiences created belief systems that are subconscious that they're running on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when I see that, I'm supposed to show them how they can flip that thing or flip that belief, flip that habit, flip that emotion on the opposite side, right? So that they can actually live the way that they want to live, so that they can actually love the way that they want to love, so that they actually can be who they want to be. And so I realized it through just doing my own work, through healing certain ailments in my body,
Mm-hmm.
really. Like really getting a diagnosis and being like, okay, I'm about to heal this. I realized it through really transforming my relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by really being able to create a lasting relationship with dream. That's healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew up with parents who got a divorce while I was young. Both of my parents have been married 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents are on their third marriage right now, which I really think is their third and final marriage, because they both, the people they're with right now just fit like a puzzle. But
Mm-hmm.
they have 2 other people and a whole bunch of other people to get there. And so seeing that my subconscious, the message my subconscious received, seeing that as a kid is that you can get married, but marriages don't last. And you'll be okay. You'll find somebody else, right?
Right.
That's the message that my subconscious received, but I've had to do the work to understand that I can be in a lasting relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
It's,
I think that answers your question pretty
yeah,
detailed.
yeah. That was a good answer. It's a lot to touch on that
Mhm.
subject, but I feel like that would probably be more of a private matter between me and you, because that, I mean, touches on a lot, especially with me being considered single,
Mhm.
and I didn't grow up in a two-parent household.
Mhm.
I am an identical twin. My
Wow.
um, my dad, my mom had me and my sister, and my dad got married when we were like 2 years old. And my stepmom has 5 kids.
Oh, wow.
But the thing with that is somehow they were able to work together, and we don't even consider each other half siblings because we grew up together. So it's just like, that's my sister, that's my brother. So we're all like really close in age, some of us anyway. My youngest brother is 12 actually.
Wow.
So well, he'll be 12 this year. But I have a big family, and the viewpoints on relationships for me have been different. Growing up, I didn't realize that it was different because of the way that we grew up with having, like, you know, me and my sister seeming to be the outside kids because we're the weekend kids, you know what I mean? Although we were here first considerably, but, like, you get the dynamic of like a 2-parent household, and then with us it's the 1-parent household, and it shapes your relationships differently with people. And growing up, you don't really understand why some parents might feel like, I need to know who her people are. I need to know like who she, like where she come from and stuff like that, because you got parents who know that their kids maybe shouldn't hang out with that child because of the way they might value certain relationships or handle certain things that they might not want their children to grab a hold of.
Supposed to, yeah.
So I mean, we could talk. This could be that whole session right here, like. But
Yeah.
that was a good question. Because it's sometimes a lot of people can realize something in you that you don't always realize in yourself at first, and sometimes you might not even realize it, and then it might be time goes by and you actually realize it for yourself, and it just changes everything, you know, once you realize it, because everybody else can see it, but if you can't see it, it's like.
Absolutely. And that happens all the time. That happens all the time and it happens on both sides. It happens with things that are perceivably positive, like realizing that you're a healer, or realizing that you're a coach, or realizing that you are a divine spiritual being. And at the same time, it could happen with, realizing that you have addictions, realizing that you have triggers, realizing that you have traumas. We all have that one family member who doesn't realize their trauma, who doesn't realize their addiction. And you can tell them over and over and over again, you got to stop, you got to stop, you got to stop. You're clearly addicted to this. You clearly are bothered by that. But if a person doesn't realize it for themselves, then the power, the potency, and the transformation of whatever it is that they're dealing with is not what it's supposed to be. Right? So, like I said, it's the same thing with an addict. A person who's addicted to something has to realize they're addicted to something. A person who has trauma, they have to realize they have that trauma. They have to realize they have that trigger in order for them to transform. And it's the same thing, with me with healing. I had to realize who I was, and what I'm supposed to be doing in order for me to be here right now, even talking to you or doing the Master Student Conference. I'm making this content. Like, until you really realize, until here's what it is, until ego recognizes the divine self. Because if your ego, the conscious mind, doesn't get the divinity, doesn't understand spirit, doesn't understand the higher self, doesn't, really make that connection, the ego is going to keep going with life all normal. The ego is going to, keep up with the same old things you've been doing. The ego is going to keep you comfortable. So, with that said, when people do tell a person, hey, I see you as a healer, you're powerful, you're strong, you're divine, you're supposed to be doing this. When people do that, the ego starts to kind of perk up its ears a little bit and be like, oh, okay, cool. May not act on it, but the conscious mind starts hearing. And what happens is it goes beyond the conscious mind. The subconscious mind starts waking up to it. The subconscious mind starts waking up to it. And then what we also have to realize is that everything happens in divine timing. In the time where I didn't know I was a healer, in the time where I didn't know that I was supposed to be doing this work, is because I wasn't supposed to know, because I would have probably mishandled myself. I would have probably mishandled other people. I probably was not spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically mature enough to handle the knowing of my power. And so that goes for a whole bunch of other people. Like, if you don't have the clarity just yet on what it is you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be doing, and what you're spiritually called to do, it's okay. As Abraham Hicks would say, it's okay, help is on the way.
Yeah.
Your help is is going to be those people just saying things to you like, yeah, I see this in you. I feel this from you. Your help is going to be those words of encouragement. And then, like I said, the more you hear that, the more you do your best to get to know yourself and align with yourself. The more you do your meditation, your spiritual work, the more you challenge yourself, the more you will come to see who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. But it starts with people whispering in your ear, waking up certain parts of you just through their words, because words have a vibration. Words are powerful. Words are swords. We all know that. So as people are encouraging you, as people are speaking life over you, it starts to wake up certain aspects of you. And then when that divine appointment arrives, then the conscious mind and the subconscious mind get on one accord and say, okay, this is it. I found my thing. There's an agreement, there's an alignment, and then you just got to walk in it.
Yes, I agree. I really like that, that where this whole question went. And to continue off of that, have you ever had a nano chart reading?
A nano chart reading?
Am I saying right? Nano?
I don't know what the hell that is.
NATAL, nano chart reading.
Yes.
Nano chart reading. I'm country.
Listen, I told you, I know all about South Carolina. I live in South Carolina. I went to school in South Carolina, so I get South Carolina. Yeah. So I've never had an actual natal chart reading, but I have my own chart.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm not like a master astrologist or anything like that, but I regularly look at my natal chart to see what alignments are happening, to really get guidance on what's happening inside of me. I 100% vouch for astrology and natal charts.
Yes. Yes.
I do.
I got one time. It's probably been a year and a half now, and I've been studying it because I moved and I just found it again. And when I did my meet with Conjure Queen, she was, emphasizing like everybody needs to get one. And so I just, how you look at, you find something that you was doing like maybe a few years ago and you be like, I actually was studying this, like, where did it go though? Like, I don't know where it went out of my mind, but anyway, so I picked back up off of what I was studying, and I seen that in my second house, Chiron is in my second house. So with that being said, in this life, I need to master self-worth. And for a long time, I never really understood what is it about me to where like I continue, which I realize I will hurt myself not knowing that I'm trying to heal other people when I need to heal myself. And getting a better understanding of that, it gets really dark. So along with it getting dark, I also have to do shadow work with it, because self-worth for me, I turned 34 in December. I don't know, it's like the age of just like digging so deep in yourself to where you just, the reflection of myself in my 30s. I don't know what it is. To be single, kidless, and I guess what society would, view you as just like you to yourself, you by yourself, you this and you that. Society weighs real heavy on you. Well, for me, it does in this life, just because I struggle with self-worth, which is something I didn't realize I did. I didn't realize that until last year. I didn't realize that.
And so let me say this really quickly. So you said it gets dark when you
Mhm.
analyze and when you look at your self-worth, when you look at your natal chart and it shows you this is something that you're going to have to work on. The thing, your blockage really is the judgment of having low self-worth.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't I value myself? Why don't I find myself worthy? This it's the judgment, it's the beliefs that you have for that struggle that makes the struggle even darker.
Or what is it that I'm doing to make myself seem like I'm unworthy? Because I feel like I'm worthy, but apparently I'm not
So here's
showing it.
so
Like,
here, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It gets so deep. There's so many layers to this. One thing, so first I want to really be clear and I really want you to get this point. It is your judgment of having low self-worth that makes it worse.
mm,
You have to remove the judgment from this being an aspect of something that you have to work on within yourself. It just is what it is. It's a part of what you came to learn. So embrace that, be glad about that, because when you do that, now you tap deeper into your purpose. Now you tap deeper into your reason. Now you tap deeper into you. Okay. So the first thing is removing judgment from it and being like, oh, this is a bad thing. Why am I 30 years old and I'm this and I'm this and I'm that? You have to shift perspective to appreciate the work that you have to do. Because what you'll understand through that is that right on the other side of that self appreciation for struggling with self worth, for being single, for being childless, right when you get on the other side of that, you'll realize the impact that you're going to have on other people's lives
mm,
because you've removed judgment from it. And when you remove judgment, it's easier to do the work. When you judge something, you don't want to do the work
right,
on it. You feel like it's so hard.
right.
Like, I got to work on this. I got so
How do
much that
you get rid of the judgment? Because it kind of feels shameful at the same time, too.
all of those emotions are to keep you trapped from not moving forward. All of those emotions are the things that keep you trapped from not moving forward. So a part of removing judgment, a part of removing shame, a part of moving guilt from it, right? A part of removing that is transforming your belief system. See, you don't see a lot of times we don't realize how entranced we are to the world. Like you just said, society weighs on me, society weighs on me. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. The first thing is understanding, okay, I'm not like everybody else in this world. I am unique. I am divine. The way that I look, the way that I live, my life path, my life story is unique and divine to me. And it's for a reason. So you really have to accept the fact that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And because you are a spiritual being having a human experience, there are things in your humanity that are there to refine you spiritually.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to remove the human. It's the human you that is judging that you have to do self-work. Your soul, your spirit don't care about self-worth work. Soul is like, your soul, your spirit is like, yes, that's what we're here to do. Get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's your humanity. It's your humanity that's like, this is what a shame.
Yeah.
That self-pity will get you absolutely nowhere. So you got to accept the fact. So like when I was dealing with abandonment issues, I couldn't be like, oh, I was abandoned and now I'm toxic in my relationships. Oh, this is so, no. I had to accept. I
Mm-hmm.
had to accept. I had to say, you know what? My daddy was not there. This made me attracted to, excuse my language, fuck boys.
Yes.
This made me attracted to fuck boys. This made me seek out unhealthy, toxic relationships. This made me be this type of person. I had to really accept that. I had to be like, okay, it is what it is.
Mm.
Because it's not about your humanity, it's about your spirit, it's about your soul getting the work the refinement, the evolution that it needs for your next lifetime, for your next experience. And so you just have to detach from feeling like it is a bad thing to have to increase your self-worth. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And you have to be like, actually, this is a dope thing. This is a powerful thing because I get to witness my own self-transformation. I get to be in control of my transformation. So to sum all of that up, understand that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And because you're having a human experience, there are going to be some human things that you have to work through based off of your experiences as a child in this lifetime and based off of past lifetimes. One of the things that you start with while doing this work is understanding who your parents were. What were the messages, the subconscious messages other gave you, the subconscious messages that your father gave you. And then when we realize what those messages are, we got to flip it on its side. You have to get, when you're doing spiritual work, you got to get creative. So when I was dealing with abandonment issues from my father, and it manifested in all the ways that I told you, shitty relationships, being codependent, me feeling like I needed to have somebody there, it manifested in all of that toxicity. And then when I got in a relationship with Dream, it was really highlighted because he is such an independent person. He's such a person that does not have to have somebody there. So he was reflecting all of that to me. But instead of pitying myself, instead of being like, oh, you know, my daddy did this, and, you know, I cried about it. I confronted my daddy about it. All of that, right? But I had to get to the point where I just said, I'm just going to do the work. I'm just going to take radical action. And the thought process that I had to start living on and thriving on was that I'm good alone. I enjoy my alone time. I love myself so much that if I did not have somebody in my life, I'm good. I enjoy my own entertainment. I had to understand that I was holy. I was designed on my own. But see, abandonment won't have you think that way. Abandonment will have you think you're not good enough. You're not worthy of love. Your father didn't choose you. That's what I was running on at first, subconsciously. The work that I had to do was flipping that to say, I am worthy. I love myself. I enjoy myself. I enjoy being alone. Okay. So you got to figure out the root cause of the self-worth. And it may come from this lifetime. It may come from a past lifetime. You got to get really deep within your subconscious mind. But when you figure that out, the next thing is to do alchemy on it, meaning what is the opposite side of that? What is the opposite thought process? And then once you realize that opposite thought process, you challenge yourself to think in that way, to feel that way, and you implement habits that start to ingrain that in your mind. So when I was doing the abandonment work and I was enjoying my time alone, understanding that I was loved, that I was worthy by myself, what I would do was on purpose. I would tell Dream, I would be like, you want to go out with your friends? You want to go handle business? I would push him I would tell him, go do something. Let me be by myself. I would tell him, let me be by myself. So it was foreign. It was foreign to my humanity to want to be by myself, but that's what my spirit needed in order for me to heal the abandonment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it do.
Okay.
It really do.
I just gave you a whole rundown. And for anybody who listens to this video, that's the rundown of healing, of transition. In the deep part, Spirit told me this last night. I'm gonna have to, I need to remember this. Let me write it down. Spirit told me this last night. I know this already, but supposedly I gotta make a video to remind people. Healing is not one and done. Okay? Let me write that down.
That is so true.
Healing is, okay, I recognize this aspect of myself, right? I recognize that I've had abandonment issues. I've done the work on those abandonment issues, but I have to maintain it because we've been so ingrained. Like I've been dealing with abandonment issues for 30 years. You understand? And I just now got into the healing 3-4 years ago. So what's more potent, those 26 years or those 4 years? The 26 years is more powerful, it's more potent, it's more impactful, it's more ingrained in my psyche than the last 4 years. So when we're talking about healing, we're talking about this new state of being that I've manifested, this new state of being that I'm dwelling in. I have to pay attention to my daily life. I have to be conscious in my daily life to not revert back to those old habits, to not revert back to those emotions. I have to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I agree, especially with you. I mean, as far as like, you have to consciously always like know, like, okay, I can't revert back. I can't revert back. However, if there's a time where you have a moment
Triggered.
How do you make it to where, okay, I just had a moment, it's not the end of the world, I don't have to go back, I can still keep going where I'm going? Like, this isn't a relapse to where I have to relapse to no return.
Yeah, it takes emotional maturity. And it takes emotional intelligence. It takes emotional intelligence, meaning in those moments when you're triggered, you're mature enough and you're intelligent enough to understand how you're feeling and why you're feeling it.
Yeah.
So that in that moment, you can be like, okay, I know how I'm feeling and I know why I'm feeling it. Let me be deliberate about what I decide to do next. That's the maturity aspect. But also, it's so important in those moments because it is in those moments where spirit is really trying to raise you up to a new level. So in those moments, you have to give yourself some grace, you have to give yourself some mercy, and you have to allow yourself to be quiet for just a little bit. Because when you do that, spirit is going to always give you a way out. Spirit is going to give you options. Spirit is going to be like, okay, these are the ways that you can take this experience right now. These are the ways that you can take it. And here's the thing. Even when you relapse, even when you revert, it's just an opportunity for you to go even further forward in the direction that you want to go. But again, it's non-judgment. The same way, back in the day when you used to be going to church.
Yeah.
Grace and mercy, you have to give yourself that same grace and mercy. But like I was saying, it takes emotional maturity and it takes emotional intelligence. You have to know how you're really feeling. Because a lot of times we disguise sadness, disappointment. We disguise those harder emotions with anger. We disguise like people may be feeling lonely. Right? They gotta have a body next to them. No, what's the deeper aspect? And so that's the part that takes emotional intelligence and it takes emotional maturity because you have to give yourself the space in those triggering moments to go deeper than what's just on the surface. What's on the surface? What's on the surface is just habit. Emotional habits. Your emotions are on habit. Like you've been taught to react. You've been taught to react to certain situations a certain way. If this happens automatically. That's how we've been taught. My mama taught me that if somebody says something to you, you automatically check them. you get on their ass. That's how I was raised. That's what I saw. That's the message I received from my mother subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can choose one or two things. Either I can choose to be like my mother and go at their head, or I can be passive
Mm-hmm.
and let things just whatever roll off my shoulder. Your spiritual work though is finding that middle point. So for me, it's been okay. I don't got to check everything, and I don't have to let everything go. There's some things that I'm going to have to address, but when I address it with tact. I address it with skill. I address it at a certain level, at a certain way. But all of us have been trained to react emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
to certain things. So a part of the work is
Oh, you froze up on me. DRA.
the moment where you have to go deeper and not just act off a habit.
There
Did
you
you
go.
freeze?
It froze up for a second or two. It froze up for a second or two. Am I still?
No, we're here.
Okay. But yeah, those some good questions. Healing is what I come across when it comes to search. Well, I feel like I strive to heal every day.
Okay.
For myself. And I do have a regular job to where I have to be around certain people who have no idea of the spirit realm at all. So I sometimes end up having a lot of small talk with people, which I don't care to do all the It's a mental, like when I tell people how hard it is to work for the man and be in this realm mentally, it just the back and forth of having to jump in the matrix, jump out, jump in the matrix, jump out. It be, it's a mental thing, but I have to do a lot of small talk. So a lot of times I'm around people who don't even realize themselves. So I'm always and I'm always like somebody might say something, I'd be like, ooh, they got some really deep daddy issues, or he got some real issues with women. Like he did not like his mama, like I end up always having conversations with myself about that. So when it comes to healing, I'm not closed off to digging deep when it comes to my parents, because now I'm 34 and I really realize that they absolutely did what they knew or what they thought they knew. And they did the best of what they knew or what they thought they knew. So I don't hold them accountable like I used to when I first got into it. Cause I was in a place where it was like, anytime I talk to my mom, it's like, why you do this when we was growing up? Or why this or why that? I was always down her throat, and I had to get to a place to where I wasn't blaming her, okay. So I got an understanding of where I'm at and why I'm there. Now, like I can take the initiative and the responsibility to get the stuff done for myself.
You froze for a long time.
I know it's freezing. Like you froze for a second. I don't even know if it got what we was talking about.
Girl, you know what? I don't be knowing either. But I know the last thing that I heard from you was you would, whenever you would get around your mom, you would ask her why she did this when y'all were growing up. That was the last thing I heard.
Addressing her, because when you in a place where you are healing, you do go to your parents first as to why you're the way that you are. And I had to get to a place where I stopped doing that and do the work for myself at the end of the day. And it's hard being around people who don't realize they're hurt, but you realize it. And sometimes it will cut your relationship in a different way, just because like you are at a level of being healed from a wound and they're still like, they don't even know they need a band-aid. You know what I mean? So having conversations like that on a regular basis, it can be draining for me anyway. Cause it's just, I mean, you just come across so many like, I guess, victims, and you could actually, you know, plant a seed within them and they still don't realize it. But to be around it on a regular basis all the time, for me, it's mentally draining. For me.
Yeah. Your energy centers are too open in those spaces and they shouldn't be. You need to be, I don't want to say closing yourself off, but it's almost like, how do I explain this? Your energy is too open and too receptive to everybody. Like you don't even recognizing everybody's shit is your energy being open. And it's because on some level or another, you connect with the shit they going through.
And so like, I'll be there.
Yeah, there's this unconscious energetic pool that happens between you and those people on a conscious or an unconscious level, right? Like you may be aware, oh, they got this issue and I had something similar, right? Oh, I can see that, you know? And then there are people who you're around who you don't consciously know what the connection is, but there's a connection there. So when you go into these spaces, it's important to really tune your own energy, whether that be fortifying your aura. And this I say to anybody, when you're in spaces where it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of humanity, it's a lot of trauma, fortifying your aura. So really visualizing your auric field being strong. I do a couple of grounding exercises before I'm talking to somebody, even like this work that we're doing. Like if I'm talking to a client and we're talking about trauma, I'm going to connect a cord to the earth to ground myself so that I don't hold on to their energies. Because when you are a spiritual person, you have enough space in your energetic field and within your spiritual wisdom and your spiritual understanding to take on people's trauma. See something, you're like, oh, I get that. I see that. And on some level or another to you, it seems easy. Daddy issues. I see that. I see how you can transform that, whatever. And so you take that energy on. And now you're tired. Hold on.
Yeah, it jumped. I don't know what's going on. I know it's cloudy here.
I'm in a phone call, so that's why that's happening. I'm back though. So in those situations, and also at the same time, you shouldn't be planting those seeds if nobody don't want to seed planted.
True.
That's draining. You think you, like they say, casting pearls to swine. Things falling on deaf ears.
That's true.
That's draining, because when you give of something like that, you want it to go and grow, because when it goes and it grows you. When someone takes something that you say and they implement it, it expands you. And it creates what we call positive karma on your behalf. But sometimes you're dropping seeds on people who don't want to hear that.
True. You done froze up on me again. I don't know what's going on with our connection today. Have we been on there too long? There we go.
Before we move on, let me make this one statement because I was saying something I know and people need to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be giving your spiritual gems just to random people just because you see that they can use it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Sometimes people just want you to listen. And you have to be able to recognize those moments. A lot of times people don't want your advice.
Mm-hmm.
Though they can give it, though they know you have the wisdom, the understanding, they really don't want it. Because when you give them your truth or the truth, when you give them something that is of power, sometimes it shakes up their consciousness. It shatters aspects of their egos.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be harder to deal with than remaining in their trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So some person is like, I would rather remain in my trauma than to receive this wisdom from you.
Okay.
So you, as an intuitive being, it is up to all of y'all people who see this video, who are healers and who have this spiritual wisdom. It's up to you to be intuitive enough. It's up to you to be empathic and understanding enough to know when you are in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's going to be best to be quiet.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
I can
So
agree.
those moments, because otherwise you'll give somebody something, they won't implement it. Now you the one mad and upset about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just told you all you had was this. You know how many times that has happened to me with family members? They'll come to my house. They will come to my house. Hey, yeah, D, I'm about to come over. Okay, you come over. And I already know you want to talk about some shit. I already know you want to tell me about the problems you got going on. And I sit there and I listen to your problems. And then after I assess your problems, I say, well, it sounds like you just need to do this. And they leave my house and a couple of weeks pass by, you coming back with the same problem because you did not implement what I just told you to implement. That's because you didn't want my solution.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted me to just listen. And so to add on top of that, you get to decide who you want to listen to and who you don't want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
You get to be like, you know what, I can't do it today. I'm sorry. Phone call declined. I can't do it today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it today. Or if you go and work and you know you got a coworker that always comes up to you and is talking. You know what, I can't do it today. Oh, you know what, I got to go to the bathroom. Whatever you need to do to protect your energy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't got to listen to people's complaints and trauma and drama, especially if you're not being compensated for it. There has to be an exchange of some
Mm-hmm.
sort.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of spiritual people don't have that equal exchange when they're listening to people and they're giving people spiritual wisdom. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. It's
Okay.
true. It's true.
So think about that when you at work and you coming upon that specific type person, da 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 da, you get to choose.
I really like, really though, when I see somebody coming, this might be silly, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I visualize this big old shield that I'm broadcasting out that says, don't come over here. I don't want to talk. It's on my forehead. It's on my back. Like, I try and visualize. I have this aura saying, like, don't come talk to me. She ain't feeling it today.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it don't.
But I want you, it's okay, so first of all, don't judge that because you're talking about this may be silly. No, it's not. It's necessary. And so even what you just said, this may be silly, that's the mental shift that you're taking. That's the mental shift that you got to pay attention to. Because if it came to your divine mind, it is good. And when you realize that it is good, this is when you start developing your self-worth. Because if you think something is silly, then it's not valuable.
Yeah.
If you think something is silly, then it's not worthy. It's not worth anything. It's silly. Oh, that little silly thing. Okay. But what you just said is powerful, necessary. So a part of your shift that you're taking mentally is embracing what comes to your divine mind to do in any given moment. Okay?
Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. Secondly, those people who come through, even though you're projecting that, is because they probably actually need something. And not only that, you actually need something from them.
I never
And
looked at it that way.
yeah, and here's the third thing. Here's the third shift. Instead of saying, don't come talk to me, you having it written on your forehead, start projecting. If you're going to come talk to me, be ready to talk about something powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you may block off somebody that got something good for you, that got something powerful for you. Even if it's the most mundane human person in the whole job, you never know what gift they may have for you. You never know what a conversation may spark in you for your growth, for your transformation. So if you are projecting, don't come talk to me, you missing out on a lot of exchanges that could potentially be beneficial for you, or that could trigger something that supports your growth. So a mental shift to take would be, if you're going to talk to me, let's talk about something powerful.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to come correct.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just shift to that and you project that, if you're going to come correct. And you get to define what correct is.
Mm-hmm.
You get to say, okay, correct is a powerful conversation, a funny conversation, something that uplifts me, something that empowers me, something that is enjoyable, something that makes me laugh. You get to determine what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You don't want to have something so big and general and broad and miss opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But that shift, this shift that we're talking about right now, would still keep people away who don't want to come correct energetically, spiritually. It'll still keep them at bay. But people who you can help and that can help you, and they want that on whatever level, it could be on a human level or a spiritual level, you'll be able to receive those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it. I didn't really think to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That made me think of some things the way that Travis said, look at stuff when you do certain rituals and stuff. But one of the things was with him that I applied to myself was,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being focused on fear,
Mm-hmm.
be focused on being courageous.
Yes.
So what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
like, I just never thought to look. You just, sometimes your mind just don't go to the opposite side of it.
Yes.
You know?
That's the work.
I definitely.
And what we just did, shameless plug, what we just did and what I just did with you, even from talking about, even from the, it may be silly, even from that question that you impose to yourself. Mm-hmm. And I want you to answer your own question. Oh, this may sound silly. And I want you to back it up and say, but it's not.
Yeah.
You answer your own, right? What we just did from there, from that point up into me giving you an example of how to flip that, is what I do in my spiritual healing coaching with women.
See, people, you just got a sample.
Yeah, you just got a real sample. Like, we'll have a conversation, I'll hear certain things, and I'll let spirit guide me in what to give you in order to start really doing your work. But beyond that, for you to start implementing, like what we just did, what we just said, is something that you can implement in your everyday life. Yeah. We're not just talking about theories here. We're talking about you receiving people into your life who are going to be beneficial, who are going to be uplifting, who you can help and they can help you. We're talking about you literally going into work, you projecting an energy using your mind's eye, using your energetic body, you projecting an energy that says, if you're going to come to me, come correct. We're projecting an energy that says, I welcome powerful, uplifting, empowering, funny conversations. I am open to supporting others and others supporting me. We're talking about you going into work with that type of perspective. And so in coaching with me, I send you off to go do that. So we're meeting on a Sunday, and if we were really coaching together, we'll be meeting again next Sunday, same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through the week and you try that exercise. And I want you to pay attention to the people who come up to you, the conversations that y'all have. Pay attention to the shifts in energy, in the conversation, in all of it. Mm-hmm. And when we meet back again next Sunday, you tell me, girl, DRA, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. And we get to talk about that. We get to build on that. If we need to make some adjustments, we can make adjustments, so on and so forth. So I just had to throw that out there because that segment of this conversation was almost to a T how coaching with me goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is a raw moment for me. I was this is a negative word to use, but I was dreading this meet.
Oh God, why?
Because with healing comes responsibility. Absolutely. And that's it. However, it's not like I thought it would be. I really thought I'd be over here crying and just tore up.
No. And again, with coaching with me, sometimes people cry. Definitely sometimes people cry, but most of the time when people cry, it's only because we've actually went into the past. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right now in this conversation, we're in the present, we're here right now, we're talking about how we can do this work. Mm-hmm. Most of the time when people meet with me is because we visited the past, mm-hmm. We're visualizing the past, we're rewriting that childhood story, we're reliving mm-hmm. childhood experience, and that can bring up tears. But we also get tears when we experience a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When we experience a major aha, like, oh, that's the part, that's the key that's been missing. Mm-hmm. But in most of my sessions, it's not just all tears and, oh, this is so hard. And I'm not beating you up. I'm mm-hmm. giving you something that is digestible.
That's what I mean. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I was really just like, I'm gonna have to take accountability once I hear something that I probably don't want to hear. Like, I'm gonna have to.
And you do. You still do. Mm-hmm. You still do. But you realize that it's not that hard, and it's not supposed to beat you up. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm gonna keep on getting on you.
That judgment,
girl. You can do it. Mm-hmm. Even I'm telling you, these are things that you can do, but mm-hmm. you have to feel like you can.
Yeah.
Even if somebody is like, all right, I'm about to get on your ass, I'm about to let you know what's up, you're supposed to be happy for that. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be like, okay, this is going to be good because she's about to give me something. That's how I am. Whenever we do Sunday service and we talk with Khadijah, Brother Panic's wife, we talk to Miss Blue, we talk to Priestess Aset. Whenever we talking to these people, I'm ready for a read mm-hmm. because I'm ready to go to the next level.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There can be some apprehension, some hesitation, but there's no fear. Mm-hmm. There's no fear because your growth and your transformation is greater than that fear. It's greater than feeling like, oh, I'm about to get read. This work is about to be challenging. I got to be responsible. No, I'm glad to be responsible. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to be given another aspect of work. I'm glad to be given a technique of something that I can do better.
And that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. That's exactly how I feel.
It's beautiful.
It is. Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm grateful.
I also want to talk to you along with healing. Mm-hmm. Because most people associate closure for healing.
I like it.
So say you actually are striving in this healing and you doing the work. Mm-hmm. And it might be a moment where you might need to get closure from a situation and you might not be able to get that closure from that situation. How do you handle that closure? How do you handle not getting closure or
I get it. I get it. I get it. Don't stress yourself trying to find the word. First of all, I love your fro. I loved your fro. That's a student
Thank
conference.
you. I
Girl,
literally, I literally just let the elements hit it because I'll wash it every, I don't know, every other week or so and let the elements hit it and let it do its own personality and go
I
from
love
there.
I love it. I miss it. I miss it, fro. But yeah, no. So uh that's challenging because a lot of times people feel like when they need closure, they have to have a conversation with somebody. Like, I need to talk to this person. I need to get this off my chest. And I think in your healing, a part of that is true. Like but at the same time, it's not the end all and be all, because a lot of times you talk to somebody and what you thought you were going to receive, you don't receive from them. So realize that it's really not about them. For example, I remember I was pregnant with Dream and I's son, KJ, and I was into the healing work, dealing with this abandonment and figuring that out. And something in me felt so strong. Oh, come on, spirit. Something in me felt so strong that I need to call my dad and I need to just tell him and I just need to ask him why. And when I did that, all he did was make excuses. Excuses for my ears, but it may be real truth to him. And so it was, yeah, your mama made it difficult for me. We were always arguing and fighting whenever we come and get the kids. It was so hard. Like I just couldn't do it. And then at the same time, I was so young when we had y'all, and I really had to choose myself. I was finding myself. Your mama was the first person, all of that. As I'm venting to you like, Daddy, I wanted you there. I needed you there. I needed you. I wanted you, even though I was, how old was I? Even though I was 20 years old, I wanted you at my college graduation. So I went in thinking that I was going to receive something.
Mm-hmm.
My dad apologized. He said, I'm sorry for all of that. He did. But it didn't make a difference in my healing. Mm. Well, and let me take that back. It made a difference in that I got it off my chest.
Okay.
But that's about it. I got it off my chest. I verbally expressed it to the person who may have caused me some level of hurt and some level of pain. Here's the thing that I realized, though, when it comes to getting closure. A lot of times it's coming from an egoic space. It's coming from a space of, let me tell you what you did to me wrong. Let me tell you how you hurt.
Okay, I ain't never, okay.
Let me tell you how you hurt me. Let me tell you what you need to fix. Let me tell you about how I feel about you and our situation. So I'm not saying that not to have those conversations. What I'm saying is that you have to be conscious about the space that you are coming from, which is why you really have to do your healing work before you even have a closure conversation. Because when you have a closure conversation, you want to be coming from a place of compassion, of understanding. Because when you come from a space of, this is what you did to me wrong, this is how you hurt me, what you're most likely going to get is excuses, or you may get defensiveness. You may get a situation where a person is like, oh no, I'm about to defend myself up to, against what you are saying. But the real closure, so it doesn't matter whether you can speak to this person or not, the real closure is understanding what connected you to that person anyways. What was the correspondence? As within, so without. So there is always something within you that attracts you to a certain person. There's always something within you that is asking to be healed, to be transformed. And this relationship, or this, and it could be mother, father, husband, wife, child, co-worker, it could be any type of relationship. It can be any type of situation. This situation is reflecting to you something that you need to transform. So the real closure comes from recognizing what that correspondence is between you and that person, recognizing what that is, and doing your healing work to transform that thing. Because just because a relationship ends or just because a situation happens, it doesn't mean that you transform the correspondence between you and that person. Doesn't mean that you release the trauma bond between you and that person.
Mm.
And when you do that work, now you can really, like people say, cut ties. You don't have to go in and visualize yourself cutting ties with a person. That's not, you don't really have to do that, because a lot of times when people do that, they haven't healed what tied them to that person anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you manifest another person
Mm.
that has the same exact energy imprint, but with a different face. So the healing, the closure is really in doing the internal work. It's really by understanding what a person is showing you. An example of this is my mother. My mother really showed me or taught me or gave me this subconscious message that I couldn't be sensitive.
Mm.
I shouldn't have feelings, that I had to cover my feelings, that I had to take care of my feelings on my own, that nobody could see me cry. That's what my mother taught me. Be strong.
Mm.
A part of my work in healing my relationship with my mother is accepting my feelings, is really understanding that I don't have to be this tough, strong woman all the time. I can be sad. I can be sensitive. I can have feelings. And in order to close that chapter of fighting my feelings, resisting my feelings, hiding my feelings, suppressing my feelings, in order to close that chapter, I had to call my mom crying one day, which was so freaking hard to do, because I never wanted my mom to see me cry. Because as a kid growing up, it was always, what you crying for? I'm going to give you something to cry about. Oh, she's so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
It was always all of that. So as an adult right now, I had an opportunity to call my mom while I was in an emotional moment. And when I called her, because I created the space, because I said, you know what, I'm going to stop feeling like I'm going to close the door on the fact that I can't be emotional,
Mm-hmm.
that I can't have emotions. And a part of that belief system came from my mom. So involving her in it, like, hey, I was crying. She was like, I called, and you know, moms know when you're feeling some type of way. I called and my mom was like, what's wrong? And I just was like, I'm feeling some type of way. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I cried to my mother on the phone, somebody who I've never cried to before, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I said, I told you that story to say real closure is about healing the connection, transforming the connection between you and a person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you and a person really connected over poverty, you need to transform your mind to a wealth mindset. And that's where your closure is going to come, because the correspondence between you and that person is no longer existent.
Okay.
I got to write this stuff down. Spirit be. Oh, God.
That was good.
Girl.
That was good. I'm over here. Listen, most of the time I'm in my apartment with nothing on. I'm just, I mean, I hear stuff, but it's nothing on, like no TV, no music, nothing, but it's stuff being said. And so I usually just be, how do I be hibernating. I ain't even like, I really do be hibernating. I do like to spend time with people though, at the end of the day, especially if I care about you or whatever the case is. But for the most part, I'm by myself a lot. So I do a lot of self-reflection.
But what do you do with it after you reflect?
Sometimes I'll go to my altar with it. Sometimes I'll because I have an ancestral altar and I have my own altar. Sometimes I'll go to either one, but most of the time my ancestors, I'll go to them. Or I might take my dog for a walk and try and figure out how to like implement it without it feeling like it's work. Like I gotta go outside of myself to get it done. And I can just like fit it into a lifestyle some way. So I might say like, okay, I stopped saying good morning.
Okay.
Because it's nothing that I'm mourning about. So how can it be a good morning? So that's why I say good day. So that's one thing. Like, okay, when people, instead of saying good morning, I'm gonna start saying good day, you know, when people introduce themselves. Or adding stuff like, okay, well, if I don't have the time to actually go and do this, how can I compromise or kill a bird with one stone? Is it kill two birds with one stone or something like that? Or just acknowledge it. The biggest thing is being able to receive that it's something that I could do differently.
Yeah, that's definitely the start, and that's actually the biggest thing, because if something is still hidden to you or unaware to you, then you cannot transform it, you cannot heal it. And I do want to tell you that when it comes to your spiritual work and your refinement, engaging with other people is powerful, because again, you need these people around you. You're not meant to do everything by yourself. Okay. No matter how long you've been alone or single, you're still not meant to do it by yourself. So it is important for you to be deliberate about engaging with other people, because through those engagements is when you'll get the practice. This is when you'll get to practice what you're now implementing. Okay. So that's a powerful thing. And you need certain situations. You need situations to manifest for you to operate these new skills that you're putting into play. Because a lot of times we'll just be in our head. It'll just be in our head. It'll just be thoughts.
Yeah.
Thoughts. So when it comes down to healing and transformation, it has to get physical. It has to get physical. It cannot stay in your head. It cannot stay in your head as thoughts, because thoughts are so fleeting. One day it's here, the next day is. One day you focusing on it, the next day you're not.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of it. So you have to figure out, how do I make this new thought physical? How do I make it physical? I'll give you a very intimate example. Doing healing work. And I realized that as I was doing womb healing, I realized that I struggled with the thought of being an object of pleasure. Okay, let me explain. I struggled with, because I have been so manipulated, so abused, so unloved in my past. I had this belief system that I didn't want to be used for my body. Now, this is some next level shit when it comes to womb healing. But I had this idea that my body could not be for pleasure, for pleasuring my partner. Like if we were going to be intimate, it was for my pleasure.
Okay.
But I did not have the idea in my mind, a belief system in my mind, that it's okay to please my man with my body. That makes sense. Does it? Okay. So I had this because I would just be like, if I don't want to do it, then we not doing it.
Yeah. You
want to do it. Okay, you want to do it. That don't really got nothing to do with me. Right? Which a lot of people think like this because we felt degraded because we've experienced so much trauma. We've experienced so much trauma that the idea of someone using our body for pleasure feels degrading.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's actually divine. But it's hard. It's hard. And do you know that I received this channel, this download? I believe I was fasting, and I believe I was like on a mushroom trip or something. Shout out to Healthy Psychedelics. But I received that download.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know your body it's a body. You are a spiritual being. This is a body. It's supposed to be for pleasure. We can talk about this. You got a lot on your mind over there.
I do, because
let's talk about it. Talk about it. So let me finish. So I had to hit this shift, and not everybody is worthy of your body and its pleasure.
mm-hmm.
But I'm doing this healing work with a whole husband that I done been with going on 8 years. What the hell am I talking about? If he needs some pleasure, I should be okay with opening myself up to give him pleasure. It was in theory first, though. It was in my mind. Okay, I get it. Okay, I gotta be okay with, if he is needing that arousal, I gotta be okay with letting him have that.
Mm-hmm.
With giving that. I gotta want to give him that. I have to feel good about my body being
mm-hmm.
a source of pleasure for my man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, honey, that's some deep shit for women to get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I struggle with the implementation of it. And then I had to take radical action. So here's what I did for Dream. And it was really for me, though.
Mm-hmm.
My spiritual work. This was a part of my womb healing. Okay. I went and bought these cards. That were like intimacy cards,
Mm-hmm.
sex cards. Let's just be all the way out there.
Conversational piece cards, like game cards.
Game cards that had different stuff. Give your man a kiss, or girl, Spirit was working with me. So it was those cards. This was such a vulnerable moment for me. Such a vulnerable moment. And it was such a trusting moment. I had to dig into a deeper level of trust for Dream, that he wouldn't abuse these cards. So I bought these cards that had different sex positions on them, different stuff on them. I bought them. I gave it to him. I said, when you give me one of these cards, I have to accept whatever card you give me.
Oh.
So it had to go from theory to radical action. I had to implement, right? And so what I gave him those cards. Again, this is for my spiritual work, because I have to understand, as the divine feminine, my body is full of pleasure, giving it and receiving it. If you just receiving it, you out of balance. If you only enjoy receiving, you're out of balance. I was out of balance. So I gave him those cards, and I had to surrender and trust the fact that he would not abuse them. Like, he ain't gonna give me a card every day. He's not gonna give me a card where it's just him receiving pleasure. It's just me doing stuff to him. I had to trust that he wasn't gonna do that. And he did. And so when he gave me a card, oh God, there'd be nights. There'd be days. I'm tired. I don't want. But I said that I was going to do something. I said that I was going to be okay with being a vessel for my man's pleasure. And if he gave me that card, honey, I sometimes I have to say, I need about 15 minutes. I need some time. Because I'm transforming. I'm changing my belief system. I'm changing the belief that pleasure is just about me. Because I was abused. I was mishandled. I was with people who did not care about my pleasure. They were only with me for their pleasure. I had to heal that, though. Now that I'm in a relationship where I got kids. This happened. We had 2 kids already. I'm like, what am I doing? Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to, that to say again, You have to make opportunities for you to operate your healing. Because sometimes those opportunities are not going to come up in your everyday life. Sometimes it'll take months for you to operate a new skill, a new mental, emotional, spiritual, physical skill. But when you're serious about transforming the subconscious mind, and when you're serious about that healing, you're going to make it happen. You're going to create situations. You're going to create opportunities. So in that situation, I literally had to surrender my body to my partner. Even though for years I have been closed off because I have been mistreated, mishandled, right? My pleasure was not put first. So I had to surrender that. And when he presented me that card, I had to remind myself why I was doing this. I had to say, okay, I've made the commitment that I am going to change this thought process, that I have to close myself off. And if it's not about my pleasure, then it ain't pleasure at all. I have to find pleasure in giving. Okay.
Oh, we could talk for a really long time, but I can't even piggyback that much off of it because I have so much to add on to, viewing myself as a certain object or decisions that I've made. Because I am 34 and I haven't really had a conversation with anybody like that to express like how I actually grew up, where I come from, like who I am, what makes me how I am now. Because what you just touched on, if I was to tell you some stuff about me in my past, I feel like we would be on this Zoom for a really long time.
All day.
But
when you are ready to talk about it, if you need to talk about it, I'm here for it.
It would be a great conversation. It would be a great conversation. Definitely. Definitely. So I know we've been on, we just been talking. Been talking. So let's that could be the last question, because that was, the last topic that we talked about, because we talked about a lot and broke through a lot of stuff, and I didn't know I would personally have a breakthrough today. I appreciate it.
Love it. That's what we're here for.
I appreciate that. So to end it off, could you give the people something encouraging for a discouraging world?
I would do this. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Hey,
I know that's right.
Sometimes you have to speak what they say, victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in God, yourself. Okay.
Okay, I know that's right.
But yeah, no, I would seriously leave people with that. You have to learn to encourage yourself, whatever that means for you. You have to learn to find pleasure in your everyday life. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel grounded? What makes you feel connected? What makes you feel divine? And you also have to be conscious of the words that you're speaking over yourself. So I would challenge people to always think before they speak. We've been told that since we were children, but I don't really put a lot of stock into that understanding of think before you speak, because what you speak is your affirmation. It's your word, and word is bond. And they say life and death lies in the power of your own tongue. And so and not even just being conscious of what you speak, but also being aware of what you're thinking. And when you have a thought or when you have a word, that is not necessarily in alignment with what you are wanting to create for yourself, be okay with releasing that, and have grace and mercy for yourself. Have grace and mercy for yourself. Like, we learned a lot of things in the church. Just because you're spiritual, they say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, you can throw away religion, indoctrination, and all of that good stuff like that, but there were some powerful things that we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned grace. We've learned mercy, meaning give yourself some space to grow. Give yourself some space to grow. Be okay being on the path. Be okay being in the journey. Be okay being in the work. Understand that it's not about, understand that your spirit, your soul, that divine part of you is not concerned with the human struggles. And that may manifest in unhealthy relationships. That may manifest as sickness. That may manifest as singleness, kidless.
Mm-hmm.
It may manifest as all of that. Your humanity is what's judging that and being like, this is not cool. But your spirit, your soul is like, no, this is necessary for your growth. This is necessary for your development. So we have to learn as spiritual people to really detach from those things, to really detach from things not being what you think they should be on a conscious ego level.
Mm-hmm.
And understand and really ask yourself, how is this shaping me, developing me, refining me so that I can be who I'm destined to be in this life and the next?
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those words.
Hold on. Hit me up. Link gonna be in the bio. I'm telling you, I'll put it in the bio. If any of these things that we've discussed today stood out to you, is a struggle for you, is difficult for you, book a complimentary coaching call. We can get on the phone and talk for a little bit. And if at the end of that phone call, you feel like who I am and what I do is something that can support your growth and your expansion, let's book some coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And work. I'll support you through all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it is what
y'all heard what DRA said, where you can find her. You just heard the whole session we had. I mean, I didn't even realize I was gonna get a breakthrough today, but I did. And I spoke on stuff that only I feel like I've had a conversation with myself. So I'm sharing a part of myself with y'all as well. And I'm totally out of my comfort zone.
Yes, come on, D-Ray. Out of her, bring it out of her.
But yeah. I'm really enjoying these meets and bringing people to y'all for y'all to have solutions and to know where to go and get help. And I really hope y'all enjoy what it is that we trying to build. This is Backwoods Ram, as I always say. Backwoods Ram isn't mine, it is yours. I'm just a vessel. Please subscribe, like, share. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. The link will be in the bio. D-Ray, thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. And your wisdom. You are such a beautiful soul.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the entire time.
But that's all, folks. Peace, fam.